One Heart Music has been like this culmination of everything that I've done in the past. Like I didn't see it before. I had to go towards the bliss of like, oh, let me be an actor. And life kind of like led me a certain way. And I was like, oh, let me follow this bliss to being a rock star. And I followed that and didn't completely work out. And I did all these things. And like One Heart Music is literally, it wouldn't have come about if I hadn't gone in all those directions.
What would the world look like if people felt like they mattered? Welcome to the Lead with Love podcast, exploring what it means to lead with love in business and life. I'm your host, Brian Sellner, and in this show, I'll share meaningful conversations to help you, the creative, the entrepreneur, the world changer, reach more people, go after your dreams, and serve your community with love. I appreciate you joining me. Now, let's get cozy and start today's episode. So today is a unique episode, and I'm having an intimate conversation with my husband, Brian Sellner. Hi, baby.
Hi.
So... it's interesting because I have questions for you. I have curiosities or things that I want to talk about, but I also feel like this is more of a fly on the wall type of conversation too. Yeah. And I feel like leading up to this, we've been both nervous, probably for a couple of years, because I've been doing this podcast for a while. And I'm like, do I want you on the show?
I finally made it on. I got the invite.
And for me personally, like, my nervousness comes from, you probably know me more than anybody in the whole wide world. Like, you have all the secrets. And I know that you were feeling nervous too. Like, can you kind of express or share where that nervous energy comes from for you?
I think it's just sharing. I feel like we have a very cool relationship, but it's also very like private at the same time. We have our own little bubble within our family, and we have things that we do and the ways that we talk to each other in our house that other cultures wouldn't understand. But it's such an awesome thing. So like walking that line between sharing our personal life with the world, I guess. I think that's the biggest thing.
Yeah. So I know we were talking, like, we have different voices that we talk to each other in, and we're like, are those voices going to come here? Like, we have baby voices. We have, I don't know, we have a lot of different interesting.
Yeah. We have lots of little sayings in our family.
Yeah. and I'm lots of what?
Ongoing jokes.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. So there's definitely like some nervous energy when you have someone that you like gets to see those most intimate, vulnerable parts, from like the joyful, silly, goofy. Like, I don't think anyone sees how goofy and silly that I can be than you. And also the like shadow sides of us too. Like, you have seen me in my darkest, depressed moments, even from when we did the buyout for my company with Simple Green Smoothies, and just feeling like a slump on the couch and uninspired, to, there's just a lot, and like sadness and grief, and that you and I get to share with each other that like most of the world just won't see. So of course that we would be nervous of like, well, what will we actually say once we hit record?
Yeah.
And something that I just want to also share, I think I like to share about the people that I talk to on my podcast so people can know a little bit more, is how we met. So one, we've been married for 15 years now. We've been together for over 17 years. So
2003.
Yeah. Could you just share, I don't know, how we met?
How we met. Okay, we worked at a job at Kaiser Permanente, and we worked for their educational theater programs. And I remember we have auditions every year. And you came in to audition in 2002, and I remember seeing you, like, all the guys would hang out and be like, "Ooh, I hope she gets hired." and you walked in, and I was like, "Oh, I definitely hope she gets hired." So that was my first seeing you. And you didn't make it that year, right?
No, I didn't. I
You didn't.
didn't. I didn't
Yeah.
make it. I almost moved
But
to New York City.
yeah.
Yeah, like because I was like, I auditioned the second year, but if I didn't get in the second year, I was gonna like go to New York and become like a New Yorican spoken word poet.
Yeah. I remember the next year you were there on the very first day of conservatory. So I remember seeing you walk in from the parking lot because we had to park at that Home Depot parking lot next door on Sherman Way. And I remember you walking like from your car and I was like, yes, she got hired. So it was love at first sight for me.
And I
At
didn't
least
know.
infatuation, at least deep infatuation at first sight.
And I remember telling my best friend Rachel at the time, I was like, there's this hot Asian guy at my work. But I had,
Yeah.
I mean, I had a boyfriend actually at that time when we met. But I remember you had a Bob Marley t-shirt and you had guitar with you. And I was like, ooh, like creative, artsy. But from there, we were just friends. You know, I was dating somebody at the time, but you're a very nice coworker. And that's kind of like how I was seeing you that whole time until my ex-boyfriend cheated on me. And then you were kind of there. You were like,
I swooped in like a
you.
vulture on the wings. I said, now's the perfect time.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think our relationship, one of being able to meet each other doing work that we really love. Like, you know, how
Yeah.
long did you do the educational theater program for?
Altogether, my whole time, I did it in Northern California and it was broken up, but altogether it was around 13 years that I did it, that I
Yeah.
toured.
And I did
Yeah.
it for 5 years. I left when I got pregnant with Zoe. Well, I stayed while I was pregnant with Zoe, and I stayed for a few months. I think 4 months was all I lasted, and then I was like, I cannot do this. I just need to be home with my baby. But can you just share what? Do you remember what show you were in the year that I got hired? What was the name of the show?
Oh, wait. That year I was in Nightmare on Puberty Street, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
And
So
yeah.
I just love that you were in a show called Nightmare on Puberty Street,
Yeah,
and
we
I
talked about puberty and peer pressure and bullying and yeah, it was a
even
lot of fun.
suicide too, right? Was
Yeah,
yeah,
suicide.
yeah.
Yeah.
Which is interesting to think about. Do you feel like that we've had the conversations with Zoe about all the topics that you taught inside the show?
I think we have talked about a lot of them. I think more so you because she feels more comfortable with you talking about certain things. But I
Yeah,
think so. Like peer pressure, we talk about a lot. Like just being your own person. I think we've done a pretty good job.
yeah. And our daughter, she's in eighth grade. She's 13. When I got hired, and the whole time I was in a show called Secrets, where it was an HIV STD prevention show for high schoolers. I did a condom demo every day
On a banana.
on a fake banana, and I had like a red boa scarf, and I would pour out like a purse, like a huge black purse full of multicolor condoms onto the I don't know what that thing was called. It was like a little block or something. But I did a condom demo every day, Monday through Friday for five
What a fun
years
gig.
of my life. Yeah.
Oh, so much fun. I had so much fun during those years.
Yeah. So before we dive in deeper, one question that I want to ask you is what does leading with love mean to you? And how do you put that into practice in your work, in your life, just whatever feels right to share?
I think it's really just leading from your heart. And like I have this tattoo and we got it during our 10-year anniversary and it's love over everything. And I got it as a play as, there's that hip hop saying it's like money over everything. But I really believe in the power of love. And that goes deep, not just romantic love, but like a deeper love. It's like a giving and sacrificial. So I think choosing that it's like love for yourself and love for whatever it is. Like I'm a big Joseph Campbell fan, like following your bliss, that curiosity, that love, like, oh, let me follow this. And it doesn't always mean money or status or anything like that. It's just following your heart and doing things that may not get you any celebration. It's doing things that just feel right to you. There's like for me, it's a very inner voice thing. It's like, do this because it's the right thing to do. It might not mean anything, but there's a faith behind it, I guess.
Is there an example of you hearing that voice and following the love over everything approach?
A lot of the time, like I really love being able to give back to my families and the people I serve. Like I just like going above and beyond. It's not even about I feel like I'm more than just a music teacher. I feel like I have a relationship within the community. So I want to serve these families. I have a relationship with these kids, and it's not just a transaction where it's like, oh, you come to me. And for some families it is, but for a lot of the time, where I find deep meaning is where I have a relationship with them and I can speak into their lives and be that mentor for these families. That gives me a lot of meaning, knowing that I played some tiny part in this child's life. And people don't pay me for that. Like I will go out of my way and I'll make videos for kids. Like I have a child who has a sickness right now, and I'm going to do a little video for him with me, and Zoe's going to do the puppets, and we're just going to give him some words of encouragement as he goes to the doctor, remind him to be courageous and remind him who he is and to breathe and just bring him a little bit of joy. Sometimes it's just like bringing some happiness or some laughter, just doing stuff like that, like volunteering for things.
Can you describe, just for those who don't know, like when you're talking about your families and the young children, you have a music program that you founded. Could you just talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. My music program is called One Heart Music. It's a local class, and I teach around 10 family music classes a week. And it's like a rock and roll music class. So it's very tribal. That's what I love about it. I serve families with kids that are babies all the way up to 6 years old. And we sit in a circle and I play guitar and we sit and the parents and the kids sing and clap along. And yeah, it's something I feel really blessed and grateful to do. It's something I love doing. Like I'll do it for free. Yeah, it's just a lot of fun. It feels like I was kind of made to do it.
Why do you say that? Why do you feel like you were made to do it?
Like I look back on my history, like I was thinking about this, like if there's anything I've been good at, it's been following my bliss. It's like following that thing that really interests me. Like when I was young, I started doing theater in high school, and that kind of started me off on this path. And like I went and I started doing rock bands, and like I was singing a lead singer for several rock bands. I recorded albums, and I was really into church for a while. And I was in like I recorded a praise and worship album, and I led a youth group. So One Heart Music has been like this culmination of everything that I've done in the past. Like I didn't see it before. I had to go towards the bliss of like, oh, let me be an actor. And life kind of like led me a certain way. And I was like, oh, let me follow this bliss to being a rock star. And I followed that and didn't completely work out. And I did all these things. And like One Heart Music is literally, it wouldn't have come about if I hadn't gone in all those directions. Like it's like everything I love doing. It's like me, the parts where when I worked at Kaiser, working for the communities, like I get to write music and speak good, positive words into this music and into these families. And there's a community aspect to it. Yeah, it's just a mix of everything. Like it all makes sense. All the stuff that didn't make sense in my past makes sense through what I do now. It's like my treasure, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, totally. And it also reminds me of like where kind of the seed of One Heart Music started, which was actually in one of our most darkest moments in our marriage. And I mean, not like, I feel like there was joy. But like when I think about it, there was a lot of good things. But when we were in Kauai, we moved there in 2008. And that was when you said goodbye to your working at Kaiser doing theater. So saying bye to the acting. You were also in a rock band, like how would you describe the type of music that the Donald
it was like
campaign?
it was like a alternative metal.
Yeah, alternative, like with like
It's like
melody.
Deftones or Incubus or yeah.
Yeah. And you left the band, you left your acting career, we left LA. And
Yeah.
I was like, with our new baby, I was like, you can't play, a 12-year-old forever. You're in your 30s. And so we moved to Kauai, like where my mom and my bonus dad and my little brother were, and you got a real estate license, like
Yeah.
to, support the family. What was that like for you to shift from us like owning a condo in LA and, still pursuing our performing arts career to then like studying to get a real estate license and moving
Yeah.
to a state you've never lived? We never even visited Kauai. We landed
Yeah.
in a place sight
Sight unseen.
unseen. Yeah.
Yeah. I remember that first day. It was just so wild. I was like, oh, we live here now and we've never been here. And all the feelings that came with that. Yeah, it was such an interesting time. Like there was part of me, the big reason for me, like I felt like I had to grow up because, I'd been working at Kaiser for a long time. I was pursuing music and now we had a baby. And I felt like I needed to, you know, be the hardworking 9 to 5. I was like, you know what, I'm done like chasing this dream, and I need to like be responsible and make some money for this family and for my child. And so, that's the offer. When we were told about it, I was like, oh, okay, I can make a lot of money doing timeshare, and that will make up for for giving up this dream. When we got there, it was like nothing. The economy fell apart, and even if I wanted to work at a timeshare place, it was what a wild time, Cha. Oh my goodness.
Do you remember all the like aloha shirts and like fancy like Ken
Yeah,
Cole shoes that you had wearing
yeah.
to all these interviews?
It never really completely felt right. Like I remember before we left, we were still in LA and people knew we were moving to Hawaii. And I was excited about the Hawaii part. That was very adventurous. I was like, this is a new chapter. Who knows what's going to happen? And it's a chance for us to live in Hawaii. I mean, who doesn't want to live in Hawaii?
Yeah. I
But I
mean,
was very,
we got married on Maui and we were like, I want to live here.
yeah, of course. Like most people are like, well, of course we'll live there. So we took our chance. But I remember telling a friend of mine, I was like, yeah, I'm done music. I'm just gonna like do timeshare. And he was like, you sure you want to do that, man? And I was like, yeah, I think so. Yeah. I want to make money, right? But yeah, we moved out there and things did not go our way, even in that department. Yeah. But like good stuff came of it.
Yeah. I mean,
right?
I got resourceful and like, how can we make money?
Yeah.
Because we had some savings, some money. We were paying for our condo in LA. We were living with my parents in Kauai for a few months. And then there was a time where you're like, we got to get out. But I was like, but we don't have jobs yet. And
yeah, I was doing a random like Craigslist work, pulling weeds out of people's yards for $10 an hour just to like make some money while we were there and we didn't have jobs. It
yeah,
was so wild.
I was babysitting at the hotels. Like I was like at the Hyatt at these like fancy hotels with these like super affluent families. And like you're at home with Zoe while I'm watching other people's kids while they're on vacation, just like trying to like make ends meet. And yeah, nobody was hiring in 2008. Like the economy had crashed, which is so interesting, right? Because it's like we're kind of in this new cycle of where life is right now, where things are built out of necessity, out of survival, out of, care and love to take care of the people that you love. Like we were like, oh, we're parents. Like we have to figure this out. We can't just like not do anything. And so that's where the spark of the idea of like, okay, well, if no one is hiring, then I have to hire myself. And that's what we did.
That's your magic. Like, I'm so grateful for you because you have such a good vision for the future. You can see so many options and you believe in it. You have such confidence, and like you've surprised me so many times. and you just have this audacity to hope and this confidence to make things happen, and you make things happen. And you've taught me so many things. Like, I never really wanted to be an entrepreneur. I was more of an artist, but like, you've helped me so much in that arena, like believe, in myself, and like, oh, this is a possibility. And so thank God, like, you had that vision, because I did not see that at all. I was just like, let's find work. Like, let me find another job. I'll work at this other place. And we had nothing to lose. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you were so we opened Little Sprouts Playhouse. We were kind of working on it towards the end of 2008, ordering supplies up from IKEA, having it shipped from like family members, because like nothing gets shipped to Hawaii. And we started a business. We started Little Sprouts Playhouse. I think we opened February 2009. And it was a space, like a young creative play and learning center for kids that were around Zoe's age. Zoe was, just a year old, I think like a year and a half when we opened, and just trying to create a space where because we couldn't afford childcare. we couldn't afford a lot of things during that season. And I even remember like we were renting a house and we're kind of like, depleting our savings, but we got to a place where it's like, okay, we're not making enough money to pay for the commercial space, like where our business was, in addition to like our rent, the 2-bedroom house that we were renting. So we actually closed up shop from the house and we moved into our house. Do you remember
we moved into our business?
Yeah, we moved into our business. Yes.
Oh my goodness. I drew a picture of the floor plan. Yes, it was maybe 2 days ago with Zoe. Where for some reason we were talking about it. I was like, do you remember what the Playhouse looked like? And I drew the floor plan, and I was just like, how did we do this? Like, how did we live in this tiny little business? Like, how big was that place? Like 800 square feet, maybe?
I don't even know, because it was just like the main space. There was no kitchen. There was a sink, and then we had a mini fridge that we bought. Oh, we put and then there was like a random room, and then like a little tiny storage room, like half like closet storage room area, which was where she slept. And then we had the bathroom, which we shared with all of our families and customers too. Like there was a shower with a bathtub and a changing table. And then we ate like, I remember you making salmon patties on like a little.
We used to barbecue out on the porch on our little like tiny grill. Oh my goodness, we just made it happen.
Like our table were tiny tykes, like plastic tables, little tykes. Is that what it's called? Little tykes?
Little tykes?
Yeah, like the plastic picnic bench. It was wild. The whole reason why I was talking about this story was because that was where your music for young people, that was kind of like the final dot, I guess, in you kind of aligning all those different gifts and experiences that you had in music and theater.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, thank goodness for you, because you opened that door for me. I was like, oh, I could do this. Like, what did we do? We went to an event, like a mom event, and somebody was like playing music, and I was like, oh, I can do this. I can play guitar and sing. And then you, in all your you searched out music together, and you're like, you should try this certification program. I was like, okay. So I flew over to Honolulu for that weekend certification, and that really opened up my mind to it. Yeah. And that was like the beginning of One Heart Music.
Yeah, your first class was like rock and top music or something like that. Like,
yeah, that's right.
Like you would open up with like, everyone was like slapping their laps, and you would do like to the rhythm of We Will Rock You. I remember that.
And it was all just friends. It was mostly just like our friends in that first class.
Can you talk about that? Yeah, because I feel like people forget like what it takes to start something from scratch and have no idea what you're doing, and like what those early days, months look like in like your customer base. Because you definitely got resourceful and figured ways to fill your class, even if you weren't making tons of money. Can you just talk about that?
Yeah, I think that for like the first session or two was just like friends. Like we had friends who had kids that were the same age, and they're like, "Oh yeah, we'll take your class." And I probably gave a few away, right? Like, or traded, like, "Oh, well, come take. I'll give your child a free class if you paint, our porch or whatever."
Right.
So just, or like I remember a mom was like, "I'll give you a massage," and I was like, "Oh, this is kind of a weird exchange." A massage for a children's music class. I didn't take that one. But yeah, it
Right.
was just like a lot of bartering at the very beginning. It was like one class with like 6 families.
And like two paid.
Yeah. And it was probably like that for a while. And then slowly, well, actually, I feel like it grew kind of quickly on the island because once there was something good on the island, like the word gets around. And I was
Yeah.
able to like, go to the North Shore and teach. And I was able to fill as many classes as that could serve that island. Yeah. There's definitely a dues paying. Like, I think for everything, and it comes in different, like there's a continual dues paying, right?
Yeah.
um, Even when you think you're going to get that place you're aiming for, it's like, oh wait, this isn't the end. We have to keep on paying dues to get to the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. It just keeps on growing and growing.
Yeah. And, we ended up closing that business and liquidating our assets after, just figuring out ways to serve the community. But, one of the big reasons was what the business had morphed into, even though you got to take the gift away of the music classes and teaching families and the parents, their caregivers and their children. I feel like you took that gift with you, but all the other parts of the business, like I loved the marketing part and like building the community and getting the word out and coming up with different offers and ways to serve. But like what that community really wanted was a daycare preschool, like to like watch people's kids, where we were trying to create an experience where like the parents would be there with the children. And
Yeah.
so I know that we got pretty burnt out and like 10xing Zoe, like having a bunch of toddlers to take care of, where there was even a time where we sent Zoe to the preschool next door to us because she was just like not having it with us, like sharing the attention of her parents with a bunch of other kids.
Yeah.
And it just, things started to stack up where we were. I mean, you and I were even in a place of like, D word? Like, are we supposed to be together? I don't know. This is hard. Like, do you
Yeah.
remember like how intense that time was?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. How much of this are we talking about? Not that it goes that deep, but yeah, it was a difficult time. I remember thinking like, I could walk away from this, like from this marriage. And there was some light bulb that when I don't even remember what caused it, that went off in my head. And I remember like, it was like, the thought was, oh, Jada is not here to make me happy. I'm here to make her happy. Like I'm responsible. You've always been really good at this. Like we're responsible for our own happiness. And you kind of taught me that lesson. But like there was also a switch for me where I was like, I don't know, something just flipped for me where I wasn't expecting you to make me happy anymore. Though you do.
Sometimes, right?
Am I going to be?
No, no, I think it's important to be real
Yeah.
and to know that those seasons come up for us as we're
Yeah.
building our lives and trying to make meaning and to contribute. And those come where we're questioning our decisions, or we're questioning the commitments that we've made, and do we want to stay in, do we want to pivot,
Yeah.
right? Whether that's in a marriage or in a business. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, there's just so many times where it's like dark soul of the night of like, do I stay or do I go? Like, those are huge decisions that we're constantly being faced with, as we're following our bliss. That there's also, I don't know, like the dragons that come
Yeah.
our way too, that we have to like deepen into who we are and what we want. And we did stay together, although, yeah, we were questioning it because when money is tight too, like stuff gets hard, and to try to figure out how to navigate, because we're not given all these tools of like, what do you do when you're married and you don't have a lot of money? What do you, like things are
Yeah.
just heightened because we're in fight or flight. We're trying to survive. And then we're trying to also
It's
be
just life.
kind human beings to one another. And that's very challenging when you feel like your back is up against the wall and
Yeah.
like nothing's working out. It feels like just like nothing's going your way.
Yeah. It was a rough spot, but like because of those really hard times, like I feel like that strengthened our marriage so much and a certain faith in us, that we went through that. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Like we need those dark things, right? The lows, we need the lows. Like the obstacle really is the way. Like we have to face those things because they're going to come again and we're going to know them and ourselves better and we can move through those things.
yeah. But when you're in it, you don't realize that's what's happening. Like, oh, I'm growing.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I don't care. Stop it. Yeah. So, I mean, we had that business, we closed it down. We were lots of dollars in debt and we moved into your parents' house to California. And I don't know, our journey is so long. We could keep going that way, but I'm curious to kind of like, I feel like we could record so many more podcasts talking about all the leaps.
There's so many like, yeah, there's so many things to talk about.
Yeah.
that apply to business and marriage and like, there's so many stories and I'm going to write them all down next year.
Right. Yeah. So if y'all have questions or curious to know more, let us know because we can definitely have more conversations about that. But I also just want to like dig into, fast forwarding to where we are now in our lives and just some things that I've noticed in you and your own growth and transformation the past couple of years, being a creative, also being an entrepreneur, running your own company, and something that I love that you say, like right now you're working on kind of being a beginner again in some respects in your music journey. And there's a band name, like you're like, could you just tell me the name of the band that you're like, oh, what if I was called this? This is, I don't know. What is it called? Kill the Internet?
The latest? Yeah.
Yes, the latest.
The latest one. It's kill, the internet. Kind of like Portugal, the man. It's kill, the internet.
Yeah. So the reason why I want to ask about this is because I've noticed you go on your own journey around your relationship to social media. Like I hear you saying like we're fighting a war against the internet. So you took inventory of your time. Like it was maybe like 2 years ago or a year.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. Take me there.
Okay. So yeah, I think it's the end of 2018, maybe. We had our yearly meeting. We have our couples getaway and we talk about how the year went, right?
Yeah. I'll link to in the show notes too, because I actually talk about what our process is when we do end of year reflection and annual planning. So I'll link to that episode too for people who are curious, like what we do on those couples getaways.
Yeah. And it was a really interesting one because in my head, I had this narrative that I had kind of wasted, like it was like a bad year. But when I sat and looked at it on paper, it was actually like a pretty good year. Like a lot of great stuff happened. So that was an interesting thing, just recognizing the narrative I had been telling myself in my mind about that year when I really sat down and thought about it and looked at everything. I was like, oh, this is really an awesome year. And another thing that was cool was like calculating, having an awareness around my time. And I teach an average of 4 hours a day, which leaves a lot of extra time in the day for me to like hang out with Zoe and you and be with friends and pursue other things, other interests. But I also noticed like I was averaging probably 4 hours of time daily. This is like a very liberal estimate also, like of just me going on social media and scrolling and checking the news and MMA forums and just random like internet watching, Netflix, whatever. And when I calculated that 4 hours a day, I think it equaled out to like 3 months of awake time. And that blew my mind. I was like, wow, there's 3 months of time that I have no clue what happened. I was just watching stuff and disengaged with life, because that's what I'm doing when I'm on social media, disengaged, just looking at other stuff. Like I never really want to do those things. It's just I do them out of habit, right?
Yeah.
So that was a big thing for me, to recognize how much time I had wasted in my life on those things. So I think that's when I started doing several things. Like I started meditating, and I started like being aware of my social media usage and just my time in general, like being very aware of like, what am I doing right now? Is this what I want to be doing? Or am I running away from something? That's the biggest battle I feel like in my life, is constantly being, I don't know if battle is the right word, but having the awareness of like, what am I doing right now? Is this what I want to be doing? Is this time well spent? Yeah, I'm really into like stoicism and a bunch of other philosophies. So yeah, time is our most precious thing, over money, over we have such limited time in this world, and that becomes more and more obvious as the days go on for me. Like it's limited. What do we do with that? Can we make this life everything that we dream of, or at least strive to go for those things?
Were there certain books that you read during that time? Also, can we just acknowledge, I would love for you to share like how many books you were reading before
You
your
want me to
my Leo
finally somebody asked
husband.
me. Oh, let's see. So in 2019, I started reading and keeping track of like books and audiobooks I've read.
But before you started reading, what was your reading habits like before? So let's like set the stage.
It was random. Like I probably read it was random. Like I could read 2 books in a year, maybe 3, maybe sometimes none.
Yeah.
So
like
I wasn't reading.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's usually like fiction. Like, yeah, mostly fiction. Mostly.
Yeah.
So in 2019, I don't even know if it was a conscious choice, but like I decided to just do better things with that 4 hours. Part of it was just reading. So I started reading, and I have a half hour minimum a day of reading a physical book. And then I'll listen to an audiobook when I'm lifting weights or running or whatever. But since then, I think this year I've read 66 books. I think I've read 27 physical books, I think. And the rest are all audiobooks. And I think over the last 2 years, I've read 100 and something, 115 or something. I should be hitting 70 by the end of the year. Not that it's a numbers game. I actually want to slow down on that and just go deeper into books next year.
Yeah.
But it does feel nice to I feel like reading has opened up my world. It's opened up like lights inside of me and curiosities. And I try to, I'll read books about physics and philosophy and spirituality. I'll also read different types of literature and classics. So I just try to like push the boundaries of what I'm taking in.
How did you establish that reading habit? Like, what did you put into place if you were to tell me like, okay, this is what I did, and then I did that, and was there any like resistance, or was it because you already did the audit of what am I doing with 4 hours in my day every day that you knew?
I don't know where reading came into play, but I'm really big in like habit stacking. And it has to start with something. And I think I started with meditation a couple years ago, and being consistent with that. And, like we'll get into little seasons of like, I'm going to work out, and you work out for 3 months and it feels great. And then you get sick, and then it's like, oh, you don't work out for 2 months, or, that's been my life as far as working out or going on diets. Like, oh, let's do this. And it goes well for a while. And then you reach a goal, and then you stop, and you're like, oh, let me indulge. And then you gain all that weight back. Right. Whatever it might be. I think I might have read Atomic Habits around that time.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a big game-changing book for me. So the game was all about consistency. Like, even if it's just like atomic, like 5 minutes of reading, but do it every day and catch the momentum of doing that every day, and let that momentum carry you into the next day. And over time, all those habits will compound. Yeah, I think a big part of the game is just having confidence in yourself, because we know like I've failed so many times with trying to quit things or trying to, like start a new habit and just like, oh, I don't want to try again. Like, I don't want to start all over because I know what's going to happen. But having the confidence, like starting with little things that you can do I'm a big fan of doing like a short 30-day challenge and being like, oh, I did it. Boom. And like David Goggins says, like, you put that in your cookie jar. I did that for 30 days and I lost that weight, or I read those things. I did what I said I was going to do. And let me try that with something else now. And let me try something a little more difficult. Now my list is bananas.
Tell me about your list, baby. What's on your, and I know you didn't like create all of these habits in like one 30-day sprint. Like what
it's been stacking.
Yeah. And like, what was your rhythm for stacking? Was it like every 30 days you'd add a new one, or just like
a big part of it is just like watching myself and watching like, what am I doing a lot, or what I want more of? So I think it started with meditation, and I think I was doing that on my own, and I got a rhythm with that, and I started reading, and then was working out. But now it's turned into like, I probably spend around 3 to 4 hours a day on just self growth and awareness. Like, well, me and Jada together, what day are we on? We're almost at 9 months, right?
Yeah. Today is I wrote it down, 269 days in a row we do daily meditation of the Wim Hof method for 11 minutes and then 10 minutes of using the Insight timer app to kind of track the streak and have the little meditation bell go off for 10 minutes. Yeah. So yeah, we've been doing it. This is the longest habit streak I've ever had in my whole life.
I'm proud of you. Yeah. And it's really cool. Like, we get to share that, even though we're not like talking or anything during that time, it's something that we share every day. And I appreciate that. I feel like it is quality time, even though it's not like,
well,
it's something we do together.
I think there's variety in that it's like consistent 21 minutes every day, where the other day we were like poking each other. Like, there's times where we like make each other laugh, or before we start the meditation or after we meditate, we also have gone into some deep conversations because we're like awake and like rested in bed. So I think there's something to that. And we've done it even as we're traveling. And there's been like maybe like less than a handful of times where I've done it on my own because I had to wake up early and go show up for something. But yeah, it's been a consistent shared habit together. So I'm like, oh, maybe reading will be my next habit unlock. Cause for me, I'm a slow cooker, not an instant pot. And so it takes me a while to take on new rhythms and commitments. So what's on that 3 to 4 hours of your list?
My list. So I wake up, and now since June, I've been reading 2 pages of the Bible every day. And I read the daily Stoic journal. It's short, that takes like 5 minutes. And then I do what they call Carpe Diem, or a gratitude journal, where I write 3 things I'm grateful for, 3 things that would make today great, things I'm going to do. And just, I write down my identities of who I am and what I need to do to make those happen, and some adjectives of what describes that person. And then we do our breathing, right? And then I do a prayer, and then I take a cold shower, and then I work out for a minimum of 30 minutes, average 45 minutes. But right now, since we've been in lockdown, I've been lifting a lot of weights. But before, I used to do hot yoga and train jiu-jitsu several times a week. But now it's weights and running mostly, and 1 day of yoga with Zoe. And I'll listen to my audiobook when I'm doing that. And then I'll read for 30 minutes. And I'll play an instrument for 30 minutes. Like, that's my turning pro, because I'm a musician, but I've never actually really gone to school. So like, I'm trying to become a better, well-rounded musician. So I play like handpan or piano. I do courses. I do 30 minutes of something that will stretch me, because I play guitar all day long, but something that's a little uncomfortable, like that's creating new neural pathways for myself, where it's like, I don't really know how to play this. This is weird, or it's a new concept. So it's like 30 minutes of stretch instrument playing. And right now, one of my habits is, well, this is kind of a habit, but it's kind of my job right now. It's just, I'm learning Ableton.
What
and
is
how to record.
Ableton?
Ableton's just like a digital audio workstation. So it's like just producing electronic music and recording music. And that's something I've never really done. I've always kind of been dependent upon other people to record, in bands or record even my children's music. I've been dependent on other people. So, I've had this dream of like recording. I've recorded my own albums for my kids' music, but this is like definitely like a passion thing for me where it's like I just want to record something that's just all me. And I feel like an absolute beginner in this. And I think did I hit all my, I think that's most of my, I'll do like bouts of no sugar, no spending. I'll do media fast. Like I'm ramping up right now to do a complete media fast the last week of this year where I won't watch any news, turn on my computer, check emails. It'll just be me and my thoughts and a notebook and a guitar.
Yeah. How does it feel to like share that list compared to the 4 hours of time that you were just mindlessly scrolling, consuming information on?
Oh, I feel good. I mean, I believe, like, I think for me, it's what I think of myself. That's probably the most important thing because like in this day, it's like, I think we can get caught up in like what other people think or keeping up with the Joneses or but there's an inner voice we have to follow. And like, what do I think about myself? So I'm really proud of myself because I set these things for me and I feel like they build my character. And I think that's the biggest thing over anything else, over money or status. Like builds me inside, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, no, it makes a lot of sense. And I think I love that question of really thinking about what do I think of myself? And I do that, with Zoe. You see me like, if she's like, look at what I did. I'm like, what do you like? She asks, like, what do you think? Or, she's trying to get external feedback. But I
Yeah.
always want her to like tune into herself and to, as my life coach, Rebecca McLaughlin, talks about, is like giving ourselves vitamin V, which is validating ourselves. And so it's like, what do you think? And letting her be able to connect to her own sense of pride and accomplishment without needing that external validation from others to prove her worthiness, her
Yeah.
creations, and that piece. So I think that's really cool.
And it's something that only we know ourselves. Like we have our own inner conscious guide, spirit, whatever it may be, God, like that will know what that thing is. That's what I believe. And like, it might not be celebrated. It might not make any sense to anyone else, but to me, it makes sense because I'm the only person who knows my story and what's going on inside of myself. And so, yeah, I'm not saying that it's easy. Like I still want external validation from other people and I'm always looking for that. But at the end of the day, it's like, how do I feel about myself? Does this make sense to who I am, to my soul?
Yeah. And something I wanted to share before we wrap up, because, obviously we talk a lot, we can have more conversations, but I wanted, speaking of that piece of like being able to acknowledge ourselves, is something that we started a practice of, and we do it weekly-ish. We have a couples meeting where we connect, and I just wanted to kind of share, kind of like give an overview of how we move through that schedule. And then also just kind of get your insight of having that practice inside our relationship has felt like for you. But I first want to just share the schedule, I guess, of like, or kind of like the bullet points of how we move through. Like I have it in my iPhone notes, and I kind of have like a running list of things that I want to discuss to you. And I do this in my like team meetings too. I don't know, like when there's things that I want to say or share with you, instead of kind of like pinging you, texting you like, hey baby, did you do that? Did you do this? Like I just kind of have like this running list of almost like the business of marriage, but also incorporating that love. So the things that we always start with is like appreciation. So taking the time to notice what the other person has done over the last week or so, right? Of just like acknowledging and appreciating, like, I noticed that you did this, or I appreciate that you did that. And then we go into celebration, right? And being able to acknowledge ourselves. And even if someone else didn't acknowledge, it's like we have space to be acknowledged by acknowledging ourselves in front of somebody else. And then we review our schedule where we look at our calendar. So it's like we move from like love and appreciation and love for ourselves. And then we move into like
to the stuff,
to the business and the logistics where your eyes start glazing over and you're like, okay. But it gets us on the same page of like looking at our calendars, what's coming up for the week. What do you need to know? You know, we're currently a 1-car family. And so just being able to navigate those pieces. And then once I look at the schedule, then I can look at like, okay, what day am I doing dance classes? What day are you doing your Ableton lessons? Or, you know, then we can see like who can make dinner when, which that's a new win for me this year, is actually cooking for the family.
You've been killing it. You've been killing it.
Not just ordering takeout. And then
lasagna.
Yeah, that's the family hit, is my lasagna and my new Le Creuset Dutch oven, which I'm so proud of. It's fig colored with like brass handle. And then if we have time, but usually by then we're like, then that's when I go into my bullet points of things I want to like ask you a question about, or like, should we go here? Or should we do this? What do you think of that? Or it's kind of like moving things forward, kind of that list of things that I want to, because I don't think you ever have anything on your list of, it's always me. The meeting is for me.
Usually it's you. For me too. I really love the first part of it. The second half is usually like stuff I have to do.
Yeah, totally. Maybe I should switch it. I should switch the order around. So I don't know. Then you'll have to like wait for your.
You'd have to trick me.
No, but I think it's good that we lead with love first, and then we get into the business.
Lead with love. Boom. I really love that practice though. Like for both of us, I think, to be able to like share the things, because we don't get to do that a lot. I mean, we try to during dinner, but to sit and be like, this is what I'm really proud of myself for this week. I did this and this, and it's just an intimate space that we get to share. And like to also have that congratulatory love, and to be able to, I personally like need to be able to sit and go, okay, I'm going to sit and listen and just listen as best as I can and celebrate and feel with you for that intimacy. And to have that container for it really helps me out a lot. But yeah, just to celebrate each other and to be thankful for each other and to see all the things, just to be seen. I feel that's the best thing we pull from those meetings. Like, oh, okay, I see you. Like Avatar. I see you.
I see you. We just watched that as a family the other night.
I like the blue people.
Yeah. I see you. Yeah. And also because your love language is words of affirmation and my love language is quality time. So the meeting also helps me use my words to appreciate you, for you to experience the words of affirmation, and also for you to be in a space to receive. Because I don't know if anyone else, there's a book by Gary Chapman called The 5 Love Languages. And so that's what I'm talking about when I'm talking about these different languages, right? There's the love language of appreciation, quality time, physical touch, acts of service. What's the fifth one?
Forget this last one. It's not either of ours. Quality time, acts of service. Somebody look it up.
What is it? Oh
Physical
my gosh.
touch, acts of service, quality time.
Oh, gifts, because it's like the lowest.
Gifts. Oh yeah.
It's the lowest for me, so I always forget it.
I'm kind of equal. I kind of need all of them.
Yeah, you're high maintenance. Love department. But for you to receive, right? Because I could give you a compliment or I could appreciate you, and sometimes you'll deflect. Would you agree with that?
Yes. Yeah, totally.
So that's what I appreciate about it. I feel like there's so many things we could talk about, but I feel like this is a good space to wrap up this conversation. And if people, want more conversations for us to talk more about how we navigate being entrepreneurs, being married, being parents, feel free to, hit me up over at jadasellner.com and share with us over there. And I would just love to know if you have a dream, a desire, a wish, like an unsung song that's in you that you haven't pressed play on yet that you just want to share in this moment?
Oh, an unsung song. It's very literal for me. No, I just have good vibes to send out to the world. Be patient with each other and talk to each other.
Cool.
That's it.
Awesome. Well, and I think that's it. Do you have anything else? Do you feel complete?
I think so. There's so many things we can talk about. I'm going to have to write them down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For part 2.
But yeah, thank you for having me on. This went pretty well.
Yeah.
Wasn't a crash and burn, right?
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I love you. Thank you,
I love you
for
too.
sharing. And
thank you for having me on. I finally made it.
You made it.
Let's see if this gets published.
Bye.
All right. Thanks. Bye.
Thank you so much for your heart and attention and listening to Lead with Love. You can always get the links and resources mentioned in each episode over at leadwithlovepodcast.com so that you can build a sustainable business and live a creative life on your terms. If this message, Leading with Love, resonates with you and you want to take a stand for remembering that there are humans with beating hearts behind the numbers, I would love for you to subscribe so you never miss an episode and leave an honest review. It would mean the world to me, and it also helps more people spread more love in the world, which we really, really need. I also love hearing from you. So as you're listening, take a screenshot, share your favorite takeaway, and tag me on Instagram and Facebook at Jada Sellner. I really appreciate you, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.